Okay, welcome to EPLAN version 2.9 news. I'm Jonathan Wilson. I'm based out of Seattle and I'm an application engineer. I'm going to run through a few topics today. We have Chris Aldred, who's also in the chat, and he will be taking notes on any questions that you guys post up in the chat, and we'll answer those at the end of the session. So for those that don't know, EPLAN 2.9 is now available. You can download it from the download section from the EPLAN website. This presentation is going to give us just an overview of some of the features that are new for version 2.9. A full list of the features can be found in the newsletter, which is found on the website, and also in the EPLAN 2.9 help file. You can access the help file from EPLAN, and you can also grab it online. Okay, this is the agenda for today. We're going to look at all of these different items. They're in no particular order, but let's start with going through the platform features. So new for version 2.9 is we have new Dockable Dialog for editing properties. In previous versions, you had to right-click and go to Properties, and that's how you'd edit each item individually. We've got a new dialog that can be accessed, and it can be docked in various ways, much like all the navigators. So you can dock it, undock, pin, and you can have it as a flat, or you can dock it as a tab. This allows a quick way to edit different devices. I'm just going to place animation. As you can see, he's selecting the item, and instantly the function text pops up. He can change it. As you can see, the update is instant. This property overview works for multiple selections. You can work it on text, on components, segments, and graphical elements. It works from the graphical editor and the device navigator. This feature allows a much more efficient way of editing different devices. You can configure this dockable dialog so that only the important properties are available. Okay, the next new feature is project synchronization of project data. This is similar to the synchronization of master data and parts data previously, but now we can synchronize project settings and project data from another project, for example, basic projects. This makes the old way of importing XML files obsolete, which is a bit inefficient and a bit tricky. As you can see, this new option is available via project and organize and synchronize. The Synchronize Project Data tab will pop up and show you the differences between each project, the target project and the source project. This is similar to how you synchronize the parts data and the master data. Also, for the platform is the change publishing of projects for the EPLAN View app. This is changed from 2.8. This publish feature would also publish the smart wiring. This is no longer the case. It will only export EPLAN View data. In 2.9, the EPLAN smart wiring publish feature has moved to a different navigator. I've got a slide later on which will show you where it's being moved to. So changing the page description during the copying of pages. Previously, when you were copying a page and pasting it, you could inherit the page structures, but you'd have to reopen the page and change the page description. In 2.9, that has changed. You now can change the page description on pasting the page. This should save reopening and going to properties and changing the page description. This also works for inserting page macros. The PDF export has new markers for jump targets in PDFs. Previously, in previous versions, when you exported the PDF, the jump targets, when you click the cross references, would jump to a zoomed in graphic. In 2.9, it is highlighted via a red box that's flashing. I've got an animation which will show you this. So as you can see, he opens the PDF, he's zooming in manually on the device that's flashing. Clicks the cross references, and this also works in forms, and as you can see, it's flashing red. And this works for all cross references, contacts, PLC overviews, reports. The zoom feature can be enabled if required. Zoom is now disabled by default. Okay, we can now insert and output QR codes. QR codes are pretty useful for bringing up data sheets, websites, manuals, anything that you can bring up via a URL. You can use the QR code, scan it via an iPhone app or a QR reader. You can insert them similar to images by using the insert QR code. Type an address and it'll convert that address into the QR code. You can also insert them into reports, which is what this animation is showing. You see he gets the placeholder text, which is in this case a part number. This could be the manufacturer's website where the manual is. You just click that QR code box, and when you run the report, it will convert the text into the QR code. In this example, he's placing it as the QR code and type in EPLAN's website. And he can open it. Obviously, he's clicking on it. In this example, you could use a QR code reader to open the website. Okay, a request for some of the customers was, when they were opening cross-references, the ability to open them in new windows. This is now possible in EPLAN version 2.9. The existing ways, holding down Control and clicking a cross-reference will take you to the cross-reference item. To open this in the new window, you can hold down Control and Shift, and that will open the cross-reference in a new window as shown here. So in this example, he's clicking with the existing method, just holding down the Control and clicking. And same again, Control and click. In that example, he used the Control, Shift, and click, and it opened it in a new window. Configuring property arrangements is a new dialog which provides an overview of all the property arrangements that have been created in the project. This is useful to give you an overview of all the property arrangements that have been set up in the current project you're working in. Previously, you have to go into each device and modify the the property arrangement. In this case, you can view them in this nice navigator here and make adjustments here and see what's all been set up. This also works for contact images also. Okay, macros have been also updated. You can now insert macros from the macro navigator using drag and drop. This is also changed from 2.8. You can now drag and drop macros from macro projects and working projects. You can also do this in Windows Explorer, but it's not quite as efficient. 3D macros also work. You can drag them straight into your layout space, and you can also drag macros from project to project using the new navigators. In this example, it's drilling down to his macro. And you can just drag it in and place it. In this example, he's doing a 3D macro. Also places the macro. Okay, changing project properties via placeholder objects. In CoEngineer, it already existed that you could change the page properties. Now in 2.9, you can also change the project properties of a placeholder object. As you can see in the CoEngineer project, he's got the demo project that has project properties defined in it. So he's going to change the commission value in this example. So he creates a new macro from CoEngineer. One second, that slide's not correct. Okay, sorry, the slide is not correct. So yeah, in EPLAN CoEngineer, you can now change the project properties via CoEngineer. Also in 2.9, exchanging the symbols in place of objects for the value set. You previously could change values via placeholder objects. Now you can exchange the symbols also. This could be useful for the example here. We have a suppressor on a relay. You could change the suppressor type for, say, a Zener diode, a thyristor, etc. You could also have another example for the protection device. You could change it from a fuse holder to a circuit breaker, for instance. This works in CoEngineer and inserting normal macros also. So here's an example of this. So right now he's setting up the different variants of the symbols. So these are the different suppressors for the relay. And he's selecting which semiconductor he wants to use. So As you can see, you can easily insert macros with different symbols. There's new tabular lists of navigators. This enables you to do bulk edits on different properties of the devices. You can also use the filters to set up to enable you to do block edits. Various parts, you can hold down Shift and select and do mass edits on a device. Okay, there's now tooltips for icons in the navigators. All of the icons in the navigators, which are a bit sometimes difficult to understand and you have to reference the help file, now when you hover your mouse over, you get a tooltip which describes exactly what the icons are relating to. This should make understanding the navigators in EPLAN a bit easier to understand. Okay, there's now a preset for parts or electrical connections. So when you're placing electrical connections, you can now assign part numbers, stripping lengths, and other default values. These could be the wire terminations, the colors. This should speed up when you're manually placing connections, and also help when calculating fill capacity during the routing. For the fill capacity, it is calculated using the OD, which is defined in the part numbers. So that's why it's important to define a part number when trying to work out the fill capacity. As you can see in this example, it's placed a connection, it's already predefined via that setting. Okay, the layer management has also changed in 2.9. It's moved into the project data. This is so that it makes it clearer that the layers are part of the project and not of the initial system. You can also place the layer management, much like other windows. You can dock it, you can drag it around. In this example, you can see that you can also search for layers. So you first select the layer and then select the project that you want to search and hit the find button, and it'll show you exactly where that layer is used in the project. You can also adjust on the fly which layer the item is on from these navigators. Okay, the layer management behaves much like the other navigators. You can place the layer management in graphical editor. Be aware that the layer management has moved now. It is under the project data tab. And this is changing the layer assignment, which is what I mentioned earlier. You can do this from these menus here, which is a nice feature. There's now user-defined properties for the parts management. This allows you to assign user-defined data for parts. This builds upon the free properties that were available previously. You can now create predefined value sets which you can assign to various parts. In this example, they're making the user-defined data as the normal motor speed and having it selected from motor RPM. The extensions in the configuration dialog has now also been moved. It's been moved to the project data tab. They have included a new field tab which allows you to predefine which type of data can be defined in the configured properties. Deleting the user-defined data properties and checking the usage has also been improved. Previously, you would have to check the Do Not Use Any More box and compress the project. In 2.9, you can now, if you hit the Do Not Use Anymore checkbox and then remove the properties, you can remove it straight from this dialog here. You can also check all the usage of where this property is used in the project. Previously, to delete all the browsing history in EPLAN, you'd have to shut down EPLAN and then restart it. This data could be the data portal data, ePulse, etc. In 2.9, in the settings, you can now use this delete button to delete any of the browsing history. This just allows it to become a bit more efficient. The translation has also been improved in 2.9. You can now detect multilingual fields. Wherever you see the world symbol, when it's this gray color, it means it's language neutral. When it's the colored earth symbol, you can now see it's a language dependent field. In this example, we have the function text, the mountain site is translatable text, and the engraving text is a non-translatable text. Wherever you see this icon, it means that a translation can happen. Technical characteristics in this case cannot be translated. This feature makes it clearer where you can use translation. There's now additional information for when you select properties. There's a lot of properties that you can select from. In this edition can now clear up any issues as to what the property means. In this example, you can see it gives a full description of what this particular property means and what it should be used for. The color selected and activated for the project groups in the settings This allows you to define different colors in the navigators for your projects. This could make working on a macro project or a different style of project more obvious. And this can be set up in the settings. You can set up, I think, 5 or 6 different groups, and then define them as different colors and work on them. It should clear up which project you're currently working on. Okay, so let's look at P8 specific features that have been improved and updated. So in terminals, there is now a new page-based as an alternative to the orientation of the plot frame setting. For when numbering terminals, you can now number the alternate way to the plot frame that is set up. So in these examples, the plot frame is set up to go to the left, from left to right. With this setting, you can now number the opposite direction. And here again, going down and across. So originally it was set up to go top to bottom, and now using this new page-based as an alternative to the plot frame, you can go left to right. Okay, the logic transfer for distributed terminals has also been updated. It now acts like a device connection point with regard to how the logic is set up. As you see, it's opening the terminal and adjusting the logic. So as you can see that it goes to all of the device points. He's going to change them all to be linked to 4. So now any updates in tracks via the potential. You can see now it does not track to the B position, which was 2. Okay, the extensions for PLC Data Exchange have been updated to include Automation ML. There's a lot of manufacturers that use this, and Automation ML is a markup language which can pass, it's a common markup language which can pass engineering information back and forwards between different software. The main ones here that have been updated are Rockwell and Siemens. As you can see, we've got Studio 5000, and we've got some different versions of TIA Portal in here. You can also export port-specific interconnections. This is to do with Automation ML version 1.1. It was a new update, and EPLAN has updated it also to include this feature. Now we've added a new port-to-port entry in the bus selection. This is available in the bus system drop-down, and it's if you do not want to export a logical network. This would be something like a switch, for instance. That's a passive Ethernet device. And we've also made improvements to drive click and ET connection. Okay, you can now associate devices to drives and have them appear in the PLC Navigator via grouping. You can right-click on the device and add the drive and the device type, and it will show up in the PLC Navigator if you view it by the drives. You have two properties. You've got the drive, which is the main grouping, and you can also define the type, which could be something like a motor, an inverter, or an encoder. This is so you can see it in the Navigator, and you can assign it to PLC connection point, and you can view which input or output is controlling that particular drive and associated with it. You can now have extensions for PLC Sub Devices. You can exchange data with the Automation ML format into the software. A sub device would be something like a Compact Logic's L24, for instance. This is a CPU, but it also does have onboard inputs and outputs, and this is how you define them here. And you can, when you transfer the information out to Automation ML, it would go into Logic's 5000. And you can set this up in the part itself, which is what it's showing there. There's been improvements in how you edit the rack information. You can now right-click when you're viewing as a rack and go to Edit, and you can sort the slot positions and the PLC card names via this menu. You can use the up and down arrows for this. The Field System module has also got some changes. The Field System module is a module for calculating cable lengths and routing track lengths by importing 2D drawing file of your mechanical CAD drawing. You can draw your routing paths. The new options are if you want to suppress any unplaced routing paths, then we can do that now. Previously, that was not possible. You can also show the routing points in the reports also. And here you can see these are unplaced. Previously in 2.8, they would be displayed. In 2.9, you've got the option to not display them. So that's with the new sound checked. And here this is showing the routing length of the routing point here, which is 1.5. So that could be the height adjustment for the cabinet from going up to the cable tray. So smart wiring also has some slight changes. It has now the manufacturing data for smart wiring has been changed. It's now located in Utilities and Manufacturing Data and EPLAN Smart Wiring. The new the file format now contains additional properties, and this is because you'll get more information in the smart wiring application itself. The smart wiring interface has now changed. Previously, to select the different mounting locations, you could use these arrows left and right. But now with the new 2.9, you can select the mounting location via a list. The smart wiring monitor is also changed. This is used for monitoring the progress of the cabinets and manufacturing, how many wires are being landed, etc. the interface has changed to look a bit more modern and more tablet-style application. There's additional information shown here also. Okay, and that's the end of the presentation. Do we have any questions? And Chris will answer them.
Okay, so far just one. Will the user-defined data be available for reports?
Yes, it will. You can bring that in just like how you'd bring any other report in, as long as it's associated to a device. And
any further information and all product information, of course, can be found at eplanusa.com. Let me say that out without catching in my throat. eplanusa.com.
Yep, and all the news can be shown in the 2.9 help files. There's a news section there, and that'll give you an overview of all the new features. There's a lot more than what I talked about today. These are kind of the main ones. And we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And I hope everyone's keeping well in this time. And we'll be hosting more sessions and webinars in the future, so please look out for those.
Yep, stay healthy, everybody.